my gosh, super excited. Hello from my room this time. Episode number 3 of the Being Human talk show is coming out. I've had so much fun introducing an episode a week, introducing you to my guests a little bit more about just the types of conversations that I have with my friends and this lens of the human experience. I think now more than ever, I know we're in a new year, 2021, but to be honest, it kind of feels like an extension of 2020 and like what are the lessons we've all been taking away. And I know that my community and my friend circle and me myself, we are put on this planet to really share our wisdom and help others really tap into their own innate wisdom and help them grow and evolve. And so these conversations really mean the world to me, and I'm so loving the feedback and connecting with you guys on my Instagram and having you DM me and just like building this community of other humans in this world. It just feels so special. And for episode number 3, you are going to be meeting my dear sister Sonja. She is another internet friend that I met who feels like we've literally been best friends forever. I'm pretty sure we've only known each other technically 6 months when we met in an online community group. Freaking love her so much. We're literally like soul sisters. We're both Leos, both projectors in human design, and I absolutely just like love her energy. I love the wisdom she shares and everything that she talks about. So I can't wait for you to listen to this. Listen with an open mind. Have self-compassion on yourself if anything really stirs something up. Remember that I'm here to talk to any of you, as is Sonja. Really enjoy this beautiful poem that she wrote. It's gorgeous. She is seriously just so amazing, and I can't wait for you to tune into this episode, so check it out.
I love you with my entirety, but I've let your coldness devour me one too many times. And this time, I'm taking the path of the unknown. With every chance I've carefully gifted to you, I've collected the fragments of my heartache and pieced them together in hopes of remolding what's left of us. But as it's written, I've watched those pieces slip through my fingers like the sand in an hourglass, signifying our time has run its course. The golden thread that once connected us has severed and finally set me free. This time, I'm choosing to love myself. I'm choosing to love me.
All right. Hi, Sonja. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited for today's talk and to introduce anyone who's watching this to you. So why don't we just get started with that? Like, who are you? Where are you in the world? What are some fun things you like to do? What do you do for work? All those fun things.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Sonja, and I actually live in Canada, but I'm from a very small town, which is actually called Baxter, and it's like in the middle of a little forest. And I've done a lot of moving around since the like last 10 years, I'd say, but I actually just made my way back to the small town. COVID issues, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm again small town girl with a big city heart. I love to travel and I love to eat food and explore nature and just do all of the things. I love being under the stars. In terms of what I do, I am a integrative health coach, a Reiki practitioner, a woman's guide, and ultimately I'm still kind of just navigating my gifts to the world. I really just like to help others heal and put a smile on other people's faces, and that's kind of where I'm at right now in my journey.
I love that. Yeah. And the entire concept of course, this talk show, I think I've explained to you, and for anyone that's watching again, is just to introduce the human experience of life and just the realness of what it is to discover who you are, discovering career or purpose and all of those different things. So I would love to hear in your words, knowing your journey and knowing that, like, how do you view being human?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, I would say that being human is essentially a soul in a physical experience. So in a sense, like we get to feel and connect and communicate and embody experiences and love one another. I feel like, yeah, I feel like that's what really like differentiates us from other life forms. Recently, I've been talking about alien life forms and different things like that, as you know. And a lot of the things that have come up is that other species and whatnot can't actually feel emotion, and they can't eat, and they can't do all these other things. So to me, that's what being human is. Like we have all these capabilities, and it's really wonderful, actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. And I think to me, it's just like being human. We are all experiencing different things, and it all comes back that we all experience the same emotions, just maybe at different times of our lives. And I feel like in that experience, we go through some things that really rock us and grow. And like you do so much healing work, and you're into so many healing modalities, and something I love about you. What would you say like a really pivotal moment has been for you to arrive to where you are now, that you feel you learned so much from, even when maybe in that moment it just felt like, why do I have to go through this?
That's kind of like a loaded question. There's so many things that are coming to mind. Yeah. Okay. So for me personally, like I feel like I've just had such a, I mean, for most people, we've had such an interesting journey. You know, we all like ebb and flow. We all experience heartbreak and moments where we feel like we're broken wide open for various reasons. Um, a little bit about my journey is when I was younger, I definitely felt a little bit different than the rest of my friends, but you know, I just went with it because like I had to fit in pretty much. And then when I got to high school, I was diagnosed with clinical anxiety and depression, and I immediately found myself medicated and miserable. And that really just spiraled, you know, like I found that with the medications at one point, they were really helping me. And then before I knew it, it was the like total opposite. So instead of being sad and anxious, they had side effects that were making me irritable and have all these like other dark feelings. So it was like this weird thing. And then you add in like falling in love and having heartbreak. And then I ended up getting into this really chaotic relationship. And to be honest, it was abusive in various ways. And that really traumatized me and again broke me wide open. And I didn't really think I would heal from that. And then it led to like years of partying and like substance abuse and just self-hatred and all these different things. And I had to hit rock bottom pretty much. I was living with my best friend at the time. And then another situation with that happened. And eventually I ended up draining my bank account to pay rent for both of us. I was eating canned potatoes and I literally just, like I said, rock bottom. And then eventually I just woke up one day and I was like, I don't want to feel this anymore. So, what are my options? Because I knew that taking my own life wasn't an option. Although, like, I had moments where I was like, you know, it'd be a lot easier just to not be here. But I knew deep down within me that there's so much to live for. So, I started traveling the world, and that was a huge wake up call for me, like to see what was outside of what I was so used to in like my small town. And yeah, I think just like eventually learning to shift from victim mode. Because I think a lot of us get caught up in like, poor me, my life sucks, blame this person, blame this person, blame this person. And you know what? Sometimes you just have to surrender. Like what's done is done. You can't change it. And so that's what like was really helpful to me. Eventually I was like, okay, like I need to take responsibility for my life because nobody else is going to do it for me. And yeah, I would say that was a huge moment for me.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. There's a couple things that come through hearing your story that I feel like a lot of people will relate to and resonate with. And that's just when we enter this world and we start to grow up and we start to like individualize. It's like you claim that you're an individual, but you said it so perfectly, is that you did everything to make sure that you were liked and that you fit in. And I feel like a lot of people in our world in 2020, and by the time people watch this, it's like you want to fit in so that you don't get like exhaled from the tribe. It's such like a primal trait. And what really helped you kind of move out of
that mindset? And like, what kind of advice would you give a person? Because I feel like a lot of people just follow the herd.
Yeah, honestly, I would kind of just encourage people to kind of just look inward. So it's kind of like they say, like when you go to high school, like high school sucks for a lot of people, but they always tell you it's going to get better, right? And it does. Like it gets better. You leave high school, and then eventually that's kind of just like a figment of your like imagination. Like you don't really remember. It's kind of like a blimp on the radar for a lot of people. I shouldn't say for everybody, but yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of going on a tangent.
No, it's perfect.
What's the premise of the question? What was the original question?
Is just breaking out of the mindset and like following and like this need of validation of needing to fit in, you know, because I feel like so many people struggle with that. But yeah, tangent away.
Sorry, I like had like a vision of high school. Yeah. Anyways, honestly, just like exploring again, like outside of your comfort zone, if that makes sense. So again, for me, a huge wake up call was traveling. So leaving the country and like seeing third world countries and seeing their way of life, and then realizing that it doesn't like matter if I'm known for having beautiful hair and luscious eyelashes and all of these things, you know, because on this part of the world, like that doesn't matter. Like it's just like, again, when they say what's the saying, you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. It's kind of like that. So like breaking out of the things that you've always known and exploring outwards. So for me, that was huge, just like getting away from the small town and the people that I knew deep down inside were bringing me down, and just kind of being anonymous and exploring within and finding what made me feel good, and then starting to run with that and starting to own my own truths. I think that was huge for me. And that's what I would advise for everybody else, you know, to just be your own cheerleader, really.
Yeah.
You can't blame, or you can't please everybody. You know, that's really difficult.
Totally. I completely agree with that. And I feel like you hit it on nail on the head. Can't speak today.
I feel you. One of those days.
Really, it is. It's about like breaking out of your comfort zone. And you know, like I've studied NLP, and they say like your comfort zone is your prison. And I feel like your story and your evolution really explains that, like when you can remove yourself from your comfort zone, which is kind of a prison, and when you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, that's how you become just like everyone else. And we get to individualize as we grow on this journey. And I feel like your story is so powerful to exemplify that. But you also said something else in sharing that, and you said it again here in like a different context, just like this victimhood mentality. And I know I was clean at playing victim. I was just like, oh, nothing's my fault. And in NLP also we talk about how you know, being on the cause side of your life, not the effect side, and the effect side is really victimhood mentality. How, I know that like you're a coach and you help around like mental health and all these sorts of different things. How would you advise someone to really like stop themselves when it comes to the victimhood mentality, and your just viewpoint on that and shifting out of that and what it's done for you, other than of course what you've shared so far?
Yeah. Honestly, one of the things that I work with my clients is learning forgiveness. So forgiveness within yourself, forgiving yourself for anything that you've done, whether it's to somebody else or for the way you've treated yourself. That's huge. And then again, forgiving others for their wrongdoing. They say that forgiveness is the foundation for healing, and that has so much truth, and it's something that I've experienced firsthand. And that's why I preach it continuously, because I literally, once I moved into that realm of forgiving people, like people that I genuinely thought that I was going to take it to my grave, like they hurt me so badly. And in one point of view, I was like, they don't deserve my forgiveness. They never ever deserve, you know. And it's almost like you feel like you're paying them back by not forgiving them, but it doesn't affect them. It affects you. So that is huge. And then having that veil lifted, it allows you to really navigate and heal in so many different aspects. And then eventually you stop pointing the fingers and like stop blaming other people, and that's when you're stepping into control for your own life and your own feelings. And yeah, again, I think a lot of people really get caught up in the pity parties, right? And it's very easy. Like sometimes it feels good. And like I write poetry, and I was looking back at a lot of my old poems from when I was younger, and the topic was always addicted to sadness, addicted to sadness. And there's truth in that as well. Like I felt comfort in being sad. And again, it was always just circling back to all these horrible things that have happened to me. Like, but yeah, really having that switch and that awareness that, okay, like this has already happened. I can't change it. So now what am I going to do about it? And then just taking whatever lessons from that experience and healing from it. So I think that's, yeah, the base. Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. And it's not something that comes and happens overnight. It takes work, honestly. And like, again, it ebbs and flows. Like there's times where I'm like, I've totally forgiven this person. And then like 6 months later, like something pops up and I'm like, oh, I can't believe they did that. And I'm like, oh, I have to check myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
So
the anger happens all over again. Oh, I so resonate with that. I think that's huge. Forgiveness work is potent and powerful. And I can't remember what the quote was, but it's kind of just like the hot stone, like not forgiving a person's kind of like throwing the hot stone at a person, but you're still holding on to the heat or something like that. I can't remember, but essentially that's like what it reminds me of. I totally forget about that part sometimes too. And I think that is really potent and powerful in the healing journey. And then you said something else in this forgiveness aspect is just like having awareness. And I feel like anyone who is watching this, they're most likely drawn to like personal development, maybe the spiritual world, just growing to being better and having more in life. And I feel like awareness is always step one, right? Like what we become aware of, we can then transmute into something different. But I feel like at the beginning of the journey, it can be difficult to take a look at your stuff. And so, what kind of advice from your own journey and maybe what you help your clients with when it comes to cultivating that awareness and then taking that next step to the journey of growth of self?
yeah, first and foremost, just be prepared to get uncomfortable and really sit with, excuse my language, but the shit that has brought you to where you are now so that you can truly move through it and allow it to transmute, right? So again, like all of these things that we hold on to get stored in our body, like energetically, physically, all these things. And they even say that like illness starts in the energetic body before it actually enters like your physical body. So and we know that everything is energy. Like that's something that we're taught time and time again. So yeah, just again, get comfortable with being uncomfortable and then taking the medicine out of that. So it all starts within yourself, right? So that being said too, like just don't be afraid to invest in yourself either. So like whether it's therapy or getting a mentor or whatever it is, like whatever is going to help your personal development and allow you to really go inwards and uncover all of those layers, right? So we talk about shadow work, we talk about the ego, and we talk about the unconscious mind, all of these things, right? And I think it's 95% of your actions are actually driven by the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And like that's crazy, right? So like, yeah, so like just leaning into that and exploring that is going to be huge for anybody's personal development journey.
I totally agree with you. And it's really wild that we only actually are aware of 5% of our actions. Everything else comes just from programming and beliefs and thoughts like that. And I agree, like you face some shit when you're going through this, but being on the other side of it and like really being in this work and an advocate for this work and helping your clients go through this work, what would you say like the most beautiful part of it is? Because I feel like a lot of people hear like, oh, go to therapy, and they think that I did think this, and I feel like other people might too, just like, oh, I'm broken, or just like there's things that are wrong with me. I'm really scared to go there. Like there's all this stuff that really comes up in this journey, and it can feel dense and heavy and daunting. And like for me, it's been the most rewarding thing, even though, yeah, like there was definitely some moments where it's just like, what the fuck? But what would you say is the most rewarding thing from doing this kind of work to really encourage others to not be afraid to lean in and like lean into that uncomfortability?
Honestly, I would say that the most beautiful part to witness and even experience is having those like aha moments. So there's something that you actually said just now where I'm broken. Honestly, I was like a broken record for, I would say honestly, even up until the last year, I was repeatedly saying, I'd get into a relationship and I would be like, I'm broken, I'm broken, I'm broken. And I was saying it. And that's a dominant, I was believing it to be true, right? Because I was saying it so often. I was programming myself to believe it. And just when you do the work and you get uncomfortable and you allow yourself to really feel those things, like, yes, it sucks, but I promise you will have this release. Like you will feel it, and then you're gonna wake up one day and you're just gonna be like, oh, I'm not broken. Like this was just an experience of my human experience, you know? And just don't be afraid, because again, like you have like two choices. So you can choose to stay where you are, right? So if you're right now sitting at home and you're like, man, something's got to change, like I hate my boyfriend or girlfriend, I this and that, and then I hate what I see in the mirror, and there's all these things, like again, those are really like toxic thought patterns, and it sometimes it's really hard to get out of that way of thinking on your own. So again, having coach, mentor, therapist, whatever, help you dig through those layers and really figure out why you're thinking that way is so friggin' profound. And I myself have a therapist, and she is friggin' awesome. And sometimes like I'll say things and she'll just like stop me in my tracks. And then again, we dig through it. And then it's like actually this belief system that I learned when I was like 6 years old from my parents. And then there's again like that aha moment. And right there and then, like I feel like that energetic cord being cut and I can like breathe again. So like that is the most beautiful thing, like seeing it when I work with my clients. And then again, like I said, experiencing it firsthand. So just leaning in and don't be afraid. And I know that sounds kind of difficult, but yeah, again, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but
Yeah, and it's so true. It's like that the edge of growth is in your uncomfortability. And I think it's like, well, you did IIN also. So I think it's like Maston Kip. He always says like the like your level or measure of success is based off of how uncomfortable you can be in your life and still keep taking action. And that's the same thing with like growth and development. So I love that perspective so much, because I think just people on this journey and watching are so gonna resonate and understand that. And you mentioned like shadow and ego. And shadow and ego, I feel like, is something that across the board you'll consistently work with when you're doing therapy or working with a coach. How would you like advise people to address the shadow and ego with your perspective on
it? So for me personally, like doing shadow work has been the most powerful, like in written work. So there's so many different like journal prompts that you can find online. And I think as well, like with my therapist, she always like puts me into this state of mind where I get stopped in my tracks. And all of a sudden I'm faced with, like, I don't really know how to word it, like this like side of me that I don't want to admit to having, I suppose. But that's what the shadow is, right? So like, and then like, yeah, okay, sorry, I'm kind of again tangent all over the so many thoughts circulating. I guess, okay. Well, what I love about shadow work and the ego, I guess, most by doing it is it allows me to keep my head held high and speak my truths, and just continuously seeking the help needed. So, yeah, again, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm just jumping all over the place, but yeah.
it? Oh, I love that. And I think like authentically speaking our truth is something that like everyone wants to do, but there's just like we grow up in this society that makes you feel like your voice is meant to be silent, especially I think, you know, like people of color or women, and like we live in a very like patriarchal society. And I think being able to do this work and then find that self-expression is huge and powerful. What's been your journey with like using your voice, especially as like as a woman?
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually something that was really difficult for me for a very long time. So even going back to high school, I wouldn't say I was a complete mute, but like honestly, I didn't say anything unless I was spoken to. And like in elementary school, I remember I was always like the kid who like if I had to present, I would cry in front of the class. Like I didn't like talking out loud. And that's why I started writing poetry. It was always easier for me just to write. That was my form of therapy. And then I ended up getting into MLM, so multi-level marketing with Beachbody. And then one of the things we were taught is you have to share your story online on like an open like file. And I was like,
Terrifying.
and I was like, yeah. And I literally would spend like hours like recording videos of myself and deleting them. And it was really, really difficult for me to like speak out loud and say like who I was, anything I was experiencing, even if it was day-to-day life. But eventually it got easier. And eventually I was taught that you need to share your actual truth. So whatever you're struggling with, whatever you're celebrating, all of those things, say it out loud because it's going to resonate with somebody. And then I started doing that because I was just doing what I was told. And then that's exactly what started happening. People started reaching out to me and they started thanking me. They're like, you know, like I've been struggling with the exact same thing and I have nobody to talk to. Like, you're so brave for sharing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then again, it just got easier and easier and easier. And then eventually I was just like, I'm not ashamed to share my story because I know that I'm not alone. And there are other people out there who are struggling immensely and they genuinely don't have like a single person to talk to. So it turned into me being the voice for the voiceless. And I'm sure everybody has heard that at some point in time, but that has been huge for me. And so to this day, like now, even when I talk about mental health, a lot, like there's still a huge stigma around that. And I'm constantly trying to break that. Like I want it to be so normalized. It's like we talk about cancer and COVID and all of these other ailments and illnesses like it's nothing. And then you say mental health and everybody like they get like really uncomfortable, you know? So yeah, so for me, just like standing firm in that, because like I've moved from this place, like again, from the victimhood to this like place of like strength. And I love myself. I'm so excited. Like, I think I'm awesome, you know? And like, I have all of these things. Yeah, sure. Like I have anxiety sometimes. I suffered with depression once upon a time. I've struggled with eating disorders, but there's nothing wrong with me. So just again, like standing true to that and like yelling it off rooftops so everybody can hear me and just, you know, letting other people find comfort in whatever they're going through, knowing that they're not crazy and there's nothing wrong with them, and just, yeah, helping other people heal through my healing.
I love that. Yes. And I think our voice is just so powerful. And I think, yeah, sharing the story and sharing the truth is just like that's why I want to do this podcast. It's just like being human. We go through a lot of different shit and we're taught to just silence our pain, silence our suffering, suppress what we're feeling, and all of that. And I want people to know also if they're not alone and like screaming at the rooftop. It's like why I do the work I do, why I'm starting this talk show, why you do the work you do. And it like brings me back to this topic of purpose. I feel like that's another really big thing in our society, is just like, what is my purpose? Like, who am I? What am I doing? And I feel like a lot of people who are going to be watching this might be on this path of their growth and development, or maybe further along and they are comfortable with speaking their truth, but there's this disconnect, I think, a distortion around career and purpose, that like your purpose means career, career equals purpose. And I would love for you to share with us, like, what is your perspective on purpose now that you've kind of gone through your journey and you're helping heal the world in like your own unique way?
Yeah. So I think I love what you said about the like career versus purpose, because like growing up, I always wanted to be a midwife, and I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to be. Like that's my purpose in life. And then now I'm just like I'm this coach, and I'm helping empower women, and all these things. So I would have to say that, like, even for me personally, like my experience is what led me to figuring out my purpose. And again, like I've lived 9 lives throughout my journey, and I think most people have, like, again, so many different versions of ourselves, and we shed those layers, and it's a really beautiful thing. But in terms of like discovering your purpose, I would say, like, first of all, figure out what fuels you and start there. Like, what lights you up? And again, like, your purpose doesn't have to be this whole like transcendent powerful thing. And I think there's so many different ways to look at it. Like one person's purpose could be to change the cure of cancer as we know it. Another purpose for a different person could be to just be a really good aunt or uncle to their nephews who maybe don't have parents. Somebody else's purpose could literally be to like harvest amazing farmland. So I think there's so many variations to it, and I really would just welcome people to, again, just explore options and break away from your little bubble. Okay, so like go take pottery lessons, go travel, go dance, do things, and then find what speaks to your soul. And when you'll know. So like don't conform, don't live up to other people's ideals because that's what everybody else is doing. Just reflect on your experiences, and yeah, there's always lessons, and you'll be able to find what ignites your soul when you really take a moment to look within. So
I love that. I completely agree. And I think purpose is just wildly misunderstood in ways. I like to open up that conversation to bring awareness to other people that it doesn't have to be like this one defining thing. And I find that, like, yeah, as you do your work and you're going along, like, you're going to notice that there's this theme. And then that's kind of, to me, it's like it starts to pull you. And then it might fall in the level of your career, or it might just fall into just like your way of being in your life. And that is like the most beautiful thing about this journey. Um, I would love to hear, because we've talked about so much of this growth and development, if there was like one piece of advice that you would have given to the version of you before you started this work, what would it be? Because I feel like that advice always is kind of what lands to like everyone at the end of the day.
before I started this work, yeah. Honestly, again, feel like a little bit of a broken record, but stop trying to live up to other people's expectations. So again, I moved from this small town to Toronto, which is like a huge, like, go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. And then there was years, like from the age of 17 onwards, I was working upwards of 3 jobs at a time, if not 2 jobs. And again, it was because I needed money. I needed to have all of the things, like the eyelash extensions. I needed like the hair, like all of those things I need to fit in. And that was something that I chased for so long. But just coming home to myself, like if I would have taken more time to cut out all the background noise of everybody else and really just sat with myself and got to know myself better, I think my journey would have been a little less chaotic, because there was a lot of nights and days that I spent beating myself up trying to fit in and make other people happy. And for the most part, a lot of those people aren't even in my life anymore. And it's like when you come home to yourself and you heal yourself, I think you can really show up better for the rest of the world and help heal the world. So I think, yeah, if I could tell myself anything back then, it's just love yourself and spend more time with yourself.
Yeah. I love that, coming home to yourself. That's really beautiful. And I really love to share different rituals, whether what's something that is new that you started, or a ritual that you always come back to when it comes to this work that you'd like to share with others? What is like a favorite current ritual that you've cultivated in your life?
Yeah. Okay. So I think I touched on it like for 0.5 of a second throughout this conversation, but I do have a severe past with eating disorder. So I've always had this huge disconnect with my body. And then that kind of always boiled down to lacking self-worth. Again, that's something that I've really discovered through doing like the inner work and some of the shadow work and all of that. So something that I've incorporated into, it's part of my morning ritual actually. I wrote out a list of things that I absolutely love about myself. And honestly, it took me probably an hour to write this list, but I think there's like 18 things. And I colored them and I made it this beautiful piece of paper and I have it hanging on my dream board. So in the morning, I dry brush and do all the things. And then I get ready and I take this list and I stare at myself in the mirror and I read out all these things that I love about myself. And after that, I just literally breathe in gratitude. And it's been so powerful. Like I genuinely feel so much more connected and accepting of myself. And it's like, I started giving myself like kisses. And I know this is going to sound like really weird to some people. And like, even when you see people doing it, like actually like kissing your body and like loving on yourself, it's huge. And that's something that I've incorporated to my everyday ritual. And I love it. And I highly suggest everybody do it. Even if you even already love yourself, great, amplify
Love
it.
yourself more.
Yeah, love yourself more. It's so freaking powerful. So
Ooh, I love that. And mirror work is just so potent. I feel like mirror work is what really did teach me to love all parts of me, like my skin, my body, all of it. So I love that you do it in the mirror. Everyone should definitely do that. We can always use more love.
absolutely. I think too, a huge light bulb that went off to me is actually when I first started with my therapist, she gave me like a written exercise and she's like, I need you to look at yourself in the mirror and do it. And I was like, yeah, okay, no problem. And then I tried doing it and I like had an anxiety attack and then I didn't do the exercise. And then the next time her and I spoke, she was like, oh, how did it go? I was like, oh yeah, like that did not happen. And she was like, why? And then that was where the light bulb went off. I was like, okay, some serious healing needs to happen here. Yeah. So that's where I started like navigating that journey and really, again, like figuring out ways that I could come back to myself and fix that disconnect. So yeah. And then when I was reflecting back as well to my childhood, I actually had to take the mirrors out of my bedroom. And I didn't really remember that until just a few weeks ago, actually, because now that I've moved home, the mirrors are still gone. And I was like, why is there no mirrors in there? And I'm like, oh yeah, like I forced my parents to take them out because I didn't want to look at myself. It was crazy, but now I'm celebrating myself in the mirror when I wake up every morning. So it's wonderful to like be on the other side of that.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful and amazing to witness like your growth in that way. That's so cool. And then I really love to share joy. And I think like that is like joy is one of the best feelings that like we humans can experience. So what are some ways that you cultivate joy in your world?
Okay, so for me, this is gonna sound a little bit creepy, but I swear it's not. I love to like just be in nature and I like to people watch. So I love seeing other people just smiling and like having beautiful experiences and moments. Like even if it's just like in the park, like people like reading a book and you see them like smile, like that lights me up. I get so hyped. I'm like, oh my God. Or I see people embracing one another and like have like exchanging love. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. And another thing that I really, really love that lights me up is seeing people do work like just with pure love and pure light without any expectations of anything in return. So I think we often see people doing like acts of kindness, but then they want to be recognized for it. And I get it, like there's the ripple effect and like that is powerful in its own way of for sure. But when you see other people who just do things on the sidelines, like secretly, and they're just doing it because they just want to lead with love, that like, yeah, brings me so much joy. It literally fills my heart up so much. So
That's beautiful. And something that comes through hearing that is just like, I think we forget how beautiful the life experience can be. And when we can really just observe each other in the light that we all are, that really does just bring more joy and amplifies like that frequency. I think that's so beautiful. And I totally know what you mean. Like when someone, I don't know, picked something up because it fell on the floor and they like throw in the trash can. And it's just like, oh, that person like cares about the planet. And yeah, like all those little things. I love to people watch in the airport. In the airport, there's a lot of like emotions that come through, and it's really, really beautiful to witness. Also, I like that. I can see what you mean by like it's not creepy.
It's just like I like to stare at people.
And then I know that you are also a projector just like me. So projectors love to learn, and I'm always, I feel like, in a rabbit hole. And I know that you've been doing like pranic healing and Reiki and all of this new stuff. So what is the current like rabbit hole that you're going down that you love and would like people to know about?
Yeah. So, okay. So I've just scratched the surface on the pranic healing. It's something that I'm actually going to get certified in, but it keeps getting pushed back due to COVID. So in the meantime, I've really been diving into my Reiki healing. So I got certified level 1 and level 2. But the whole purpose of me getting certified was so that I could self Reiki, like again, just heal myself so I can help heal other people. Like I had no intention of practicing on other people for anything, but I've been spending so much time like doing Reiki on my water, Reiki on my food, like Reiki on my cat, just doing all of these things. And again, just like that, just learning about energetics and life force and how we can heal the physical body just like by like divine source and light energy, and just really tapping into that side of things has been so friggin' wonderful and so beautiful. And I think a lot of people, when they hear Reiki or pranic healing, they're kind of like, oh, that's like woo woo. Like, I don't really
Yeah.
but my thing is like, don't brush off something until you try it. Like, I don't know. I just think that there's so many possibilities in the world. And yeah, it's been such a powerful experience. And I recently started just practicing on my mom because she saw me diving into it all the time, reading about it, like just going over all my notes and just continuously honing in on my skills. And she's like, I'd love for you to give me a session. And so I did my first session with her just the other day, and she had this remarkable experience to the point where she was almost in tears when she came out of it. And yeah, and it was so wonderful. So that's kind of a little bit of a rabbit hole. But then on the flip, one thing that I love is motivational compilations. So I go on YouTube and I just type in motivational compilation, and it's like little just like tidbits from like motivational speakers like Les Brown, like Tony Robbins, just all of the people that like you would love to spend.
Yeah.
All like pushed into one. And like I listen to these like while like I'm at the gym or for my morning walk, and I'm like reprogramming my brain, and it's actually like crazy. I learned so much from them, and all they're doing is just like spitting truths, they're not actually like teaching anything, but they're just spitting truths that make so much sense. And I'm like, holy, and I'm learning so much. And yeah, so I highly suggest anybody, like if that's something that you're like, you don't know where to start, but you need like a pick me up, motivational compilations, 100%.
Ooh, I like that. It just like puts you in the energy of just like the growth and the upward. I'm gonna have to do that. I never like heard of that or thought of that, so it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, then I know that you really value like investing in yourself and like doing this work to people who maybe are just a little bit further ahead. So who are like some of your favorite mentors or a current mentor that like you're really loving working with right now?
Yeah, so actually really exciting news. I had like told myself like, like I don't think I'm going to be investing in a mentor anytime soon because I'm just doing this other program and all these other courses and I have so much on the go. But then I leaned into my tuition. I kept getting like faced with this one mentor, and I actually met her a few years back, but Vanessa Ferrero. I actually just invested in her program, and I was actually already learning from her prior because she was hosting so many different free webinars and workshops and all these things. But oh my gosh, she is so divine and so beautiful. And what I love about her is she is in this business to serve first and foremost. So it's like she gives and gives and gives for free without expecting anything in return. Like it's not like there's like a hook at the end, like, oh, I just gave you this free stuff and now you have to work with me. Like, and it's just been so inspiring. And she's so spiritual. She's like this Reiki master, and she does Taoism, and she's such a radiant being, and honestly inspired me to just be a better person, and again to give back to humanity for free. I mean, like it's wonderful. So that's who I'm currently working with.
Oh, she keeps coming into my field, so I'm definitely like diving into her stuff slowly, and I feel like she seems magical. Yeah. Well, like Lauren's talked about her all the time too, so I'm excited to dive into like some of her work. So that's amazing. And then what is your favorite current mantra, or like a mantra that you always go back to?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I've had the same mantra literally, I think, for the last like 6 years. So again, just like back in my journey, I was supposed to be in like this one program to help me like heal, but it was like very like talk therapy. Mm-hmm. And then on the whim one day, I'm like, I'm just gonna go to Costa Rica and do breath work and yoga and juice cleanses and all of these things. So I the program. Yeah. And I showed up there, and then I stayed with a really dear friend of mine. Well, he's a dear friend now, so I briefly knew him from before. But his name is Chris Hawk, and he's a yogi, and he's just like this spiritual being. Anyways, when I showed up, I was having anxiety attacks like 3 times a day, like really, really bad. So he was helping me work through that. And then he was like, you need to come up with a mantra, like that's going to just get you through anything. So we sat there and we like came up with one, and it's very simple, but so freaking powerful. And it is, fear has no power over me. Fear has no power over me. Fear has no power over me. Literally, like I'm afraid of bugs, and I was in Costa Rica. So
oh my gosh, it's the jungle.
Yeah, vision in the jungle, afraid of bugs. Okay, so I remember I was using this mantra for like a few days, and I had already like started saying it like 30 times a day, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. This centipede, I'm not even exaggerating, like it was big, and it was coming like slowly, but like it was like coming at me, and I was just staring at it, and I'm like, okay, this is the test. Fear has no power over me. Fear has I like started saying it, and then eventually I was just like, I felt this like release. Yeah. I was like, and I got up and I just like walked away. Whereas like in the past, I would like scream, like freak out, and it was like a huge thing. So that right there, I was like, okay, like this works. And I started like writing it in the sand on the beach, and I started writing it on sticky notes. I came home, and before an interview, I'd be in my car driving. I'd be like, fear has no power over me. And that's been like my go-to through and through ever since. And it's wonderful. So you can all have it because it's beautiful. And so
I like that one. Yes. Because fear is so real when we're in it. Yes. Amazing. Thank you so much for just sharing your heart and your truth and your vulnerability with us today. I feel like a lot of people are going to take so much away from like your journey and seeing like what it can be on the other side, and it's going to inspire so many. But where can people find you or work with you if they really feel drawn? Please share that with us.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor to be here and share space with you. For people who want to work with me, I have several different options and offerings. Right now, I do have one-on-one programs. I have a 3-month and a 6-month. I'm in the midst of finalizing my group coaching program, which I believe is launching early February. So stay tuned for that. And then I also have this little virtual event called Soul Snack Sundays. It came to me in the midst of COVID, just understanding that a lot of people were feeling isolated, and we just really needed connection. So it's actually just a pay what you can event. I host those twice per month on Sunday evenings. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me through Instagram, which is risewithsonya_, or my website, which is www.risewithsonya.com. And yeah, those are probably the best ways you can contact me. So
Yay, amazing. And then all of this will also be in the show notes, guys. So definitely check it out and say what's up to Sonja. Thank you so much for being here today. And we're both wishing you all such a beautiful, beautiful day, week, month ahead whenever you watch.
yes. Thank you so much for everybody who's appreciate it.
Yeah, okay, bye, love. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.